Welcome to the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn to live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness. Welcome to the show. I am out walking my at least 10,000 steps a day. I'm going to explain why I do that in this episode. So you can probably hear some cars driving. It's been raining here today, so you'll probably hear the tires going through, or going over the wet pavement, I should say. It's 8:14 in the evening. I've just had my dinner and my Greek yogurt dessert. As soon as I completed that meal, I got up and started walking, because there's a great book called Get Up by the author James Levine, in which he shows that if you get up and start walking within 5 minutes of the final bite of your meal, it halves our blood glucose levels, which means that we don't store nearly as much fat than if we just sat down and let our food digest without moving. So when I complete a meal, I like to just get up and then start walking. In addition to, I like to get at least 10,000 steps every single day. There's so much research now around the benefits of walking, not just because you're outside and in nature, and because it's easy on the joints, and because it regulates our appetite, and because it burns calories, keeps us lean, keeps us in clarity of thought. Sometimes, depending on the time of day, we're getting sunlight, which is a great source of vitamin D. So walking is probably the most underrated thing I think that we can do for our longevity. And 10,000 steps, because 10,000 is a nice round number, probably requires a good hour of walking each day, maybe more. It's one thing I actually haven't ever timed, but it might be more than an hour. I don't own a car, and I choose not to own a car so I get my steps in, or part of the reason is so I get my steps in. And the rest of the times I take Ubers. And I take Ubers because I can do work in the back of the car, I can do some thinking in the back of the car, whereas when I'm driving, I've got to concentrate on not crashing into other cars and stop signs and people, and I've got to park the car, I've got to worry about all that kind of stuff. So I deliberately set my lifestyle up to quote unquote force myself to walk. Then if I had a car, I can tell you when I've had a car, in fact I remember living in Hollywood, California years ago, and I lived on the corner of Highland Avenue and what was the name of that street? DeLongpre Avenue and Hollywood. No, sorry, Highland Avenue and DeLongpre Avenue on the corner, which was 2 blocks south of Hollywood Boulevard. And 2 blocks south of Sunset Boulevard and 3 blocks south of Hollywood Boulevard. And I remember I lived 4 blocks, just 4 tiny little blocks from a 7-Eleven on the corner of, gosh, what's the name of that street? Is it La Cienega or La Brea? I think it's La Brea and Sunset. And I would get this late night urge to go to 7-Eleven, or afternoon urge, and I would literally get in my car and drive 4 blocks to go to the 7-Eleven. The idea of walking 4 crappy little blocks, which would have taken me about 8 minutes, 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that, was ridiculous. Oh no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to get in the car. So because I had the car, I drove and I didn't walk. And that coincided with a time in my life where I was 30 pounds overweight, drinking, eating unhealthy food, just no idea about health and fitness. But what I'm suggesting I was doing all those years ago, most people in America and around the world would probably do today if you live in a city where a car is necessary or desirable, let's say, or even optional. You could probably hear me huffing a little bit because I've been walking up a little hill. And now I've returned home and I'm walking. So let me just check my Oura ring. Actually, I can't because I turned off my... Actually, yes, I can. I can check it. So let me check my Oura ring now as I'm recording this. That's the device that I use to track how many steps I've done. So for those who don't know, an Oura ring is kind of like the metal, the silver or black looking ring that you might see people wearing, which tracks the sleep, how many hours sleep you get, sleep quality, and how many steps you walk each day. So let's have a look at mine. What am I at now? 8:19 p.m. And I'm looking at my activity. I'm just refreshing the screen. Well, we're just waiting for that to give me the number of how many steps I've walked so far. A few other little hacks I do, or little health things I do are that people have been asking me about what I have for breakfast. I eat 6 pasture-raised eggs cooked in some ghee, which is grass-fed butter, essentially, grass-fed fat from grass-fed cows. And then I put on some Himalayan salt. Now the pasture-raised eggs are far superior because they're very orange in color and they've got lots of omega-3s and 6s. They're high in protein, as opposed to most eggs that are sold in a traditional US supermarket with these red herring marketing slogans that people say, like cage-free and organic fed. What you really want is a hen eating worms, and then you want that hen producing the eggs that we eat, because hens and chickens who lay eggs are supposed to be eating worms and grazing on pasture. They're the kind of eggs that you want, as opposed to any other egg which is fed corn, organic, soy, or whatever that they're doing. Like, cage-free doesn't mean that they actually go and eat worms. Cage-free just means that they didn't put them in a cage, or they were put them in a cage, but they left the cage doors open, so they were free. The other marketing thing is free-range eggs. Free range, as if they were free to roam on the range, but it doesn't clarify if those chickens and hens were fed anything other than what chickens and hens are supposed to eat, which is worms. They're supposed to go looking in the grass and eating things out in nature. They're not supposed to be fed corn and soy and all of the man-made stuff, which is why the nutritional quality of that egg, when you open up your carton of eggs, is far inferior to that of a pasture-raised egg. And which is why if you crack open an egg that isn't a pasture-raised egg, it looks yellow. The yolk looks yellow in color, whereas a pasture-raised egg is bright orange. All right, here we go. I'm looking at my daily steps, 5,225. So I'm only halfway there, which means I've probably got a good, it might be 30 or 45 minutes to go just to get to 10,000. So I've got a bit of steps to go. So now that I'm home, now that I recognize that, and it's it is getting late, it's 8:22, I'm now going to just turn around and start walking back to where I came from and just keep walking till I get up to the 10,000. Now, usually I can get back home in the 9,000s, and then depending on what I do at home, walking from the kitchen to the bathroom to the bedroom and around, and you can usually pick up 500 steps that way. But now that I'm only at 5,225, it's time to keep walking. And this will also help me sleep really well tonight as well. It's not overexerting myself. I'm breaking down the food that I've had for dinner. Gives me time to deflate from the day. And today was a slightly unusual day because I actually had a doctor's appointment this morning. So ordinarily I'd be in the gym and I would knock up a couple thousand steps at least just walking around the gym. Not to mention the fact I'm lifting weights and moving my body and doing all those kind of things. There's the walk to the gym, the walk back through the gym. Like, I make sure that I live strategically close to a gymnasium where it makes sense to walk as opposed to drive. again, to get steps in. Look, you can buy these standing treadmill desks. I used to have one when I lived in Los Angeles, and I since sold it to my good friend Mark Dahmer some years ago, and he's still got it today. And every time I call him on FaceTime, he's there walking on what used to be my old treadmill desk, getting his steps in. And at a time, if I'm behind in my steps as I am today, then usually by this time I'm not having to go out and keep walking and get my steps in, because I've already accomplished it. And so ordinarily I'd be spending time with my partner, daughter, and we'd be just enjoying each other's company. But even if we had a home family meal and we were eating that meal together, even as soon as the last bite is happening, they know that I'm getting up and going for a little 10-15 minute walk around the block. Now that's assuming, of course, I've already got my 10,000 steps in. Now, because tonight I don't, I'm now out and about getting the steps in, which is a little different. But according to James Levine, who wrote the book Get Up, all it takes is a 10 or a 15 minute walk, and that's enough to halve the fat storage that might be going on than if you were just eat the meal and you just sit there. Some people say, oh, that's very antisocial. If you're with people, you're just going to get up and go. Well, here's the thing. I didn't make the rules. Like, nature, I guess, is the one that made the rules, or God, or spirit, or whatever you believe in. But if you get up and walk, not only will you halve your blood sugar levels, which will in turn, let's say, double your fat burning efforts, or at least halve your fat storage, unwanted fat storage results. Not only that, but you will actually also feel lighter, like you feel better. You won't feel sluggish or tired or lethargic. You're actually getting the digestive system working, and you're moving at the same time, as opposed to if you might think about when you have a big heavy meal and you eat it and then you just sit there, you just want to collapse on the couch almost. A lot of damage can be done in terms of unwanted body fat by eating a big heavy meal at the end of the day and not getting up and walking and just being lethargic, and especially if you add alcohol to that. You might drink a glass of wine, half a bottle of wine, some beer, some scotch or whiskey. You're drinking that in addition to eating your meal, in addition to not moving your body or walking or halving your blood sugar levels just by sitting in a chair. Is it any wonder that many of us are carrying pounds and pounds and pounds of unwanted body fat, and we're tired and lethargic, and we wake up in the morning and we're sluggish, and then we're irritable. What else do I have in my fridge that might interest you? Kimchi or sauerkraut. Very, very good forms of probiotics, filled with very, very good bacteria for you. It's great for digestive issues, great for killing gut bacteria. So the good bacteria, it's filled with good bacteria, which is what probiotics essentially is. The other thing we have is kefir, K-E-F-I-R, which is a certain type of milk, certain type of raw milk. Kefir, again, filled with probiotics. Very, very, very good for you. So those three things that I just referenced there, kimchi, sauerkraut, and kefir milk, really, really good for you. I should have mentioned I have like the equivalent of a glass of kefir milk with my breakfast, with my eggs and ghee and Himalayan salt. By the way, you can also use Celtic sea salt. It's equally good as the Himalayan salt. And why are those two salts so much better than typical white table salt that you might buy? Well, they're filled with trace minerals. Lots of amazing mineral content in there. In fact, I just was talking about this on a coaching call with some clients the other night, and I typed it into ChatGPT. Let me type it in again now and I'll read out what it says. Let me say, what are the health benefits Just typing this out here as I huff and puff again. What are the health benefits of Himalayan and Celtic sea salt? Let's see what comes up. Himalayan and Celtic sea salt are both considered more natural and less processed than table salt, and they contain trace minerals that some believe provide additional health benefits. While both salts are still primarily sodium chloride, their mineral content and lack of additives can offer some advantages compared to regular table salt. Here are some of the potential health benefits of each. For Himalayan pink salt, it's mined from ancient seabeds in the Himalayan mountains and is known for its distinctive pink color, which comes from trace minerals. It's rich in minerals, contains 80 plus trace minerals, including magnesium, calcium, and potassium, which are essential for bodily functions like fluid balance and muscle function. Number 2, it promotes electrolyte balance. The minerals in Himalayan salt can help balance electrolytes, which is important for proper hydration, nerve function, and muscle contractions. Actually, I should have mentioned that as well. Before I go to the gym, I put electrolytes into a water bottle and I shake it up and I go and sip on that while I'm in the gym, and it's really good for improved and increased hydration. So water is good, electrolytes in your water is great. Okay, really helps you to retain the water and helps you to stay more hydrated as opposed to just drinking water. So you might want to try those out. You can get flavored electrolytes. There's a company called LMNT. I'm not affiliated with them, but I am an acquaintance of the owner. I think they do like a couple $100 million a year. It might even be more than that now. LMNT, they're the best known brand of electrolytes. You could buy those and put those in your water. Great minerals in that. Number 3 on the Himalayan salt, may support respiratory health. Some people use Himalayan salt in salt therapy to potentially alleviate respiratory issues like asthma or allergies by inhaling dry salt particles. Number 4, it aids in detoxification. When used in bath salts, Himalayan salt can draw out toxins through the skin and may improve skin hydration and healing. Number 5, regulates blood pressure. While sodium generally raises blood pressure, the balance of minerals in Himalayan salt may help regulate blood pressure more effectively than refined salt when consumed in moderation. Number 6, improves digestion. Himalayan salt may stimulate the production of digestive enzymes, aiding in better nutrient absorption and digestion. And now let's have a look at Celtic sea salt. It contains essential minerals like magnesium, potassium, and calcium, which support overall health, particularly in maintaining fluid balance, bone health, and muscle function, supports proper hydration, alkalizes the body, helps balance pH levels in the body, enhances enzyme function, stimulates the production of digestive enzymes, aiding digestion and the absorption of nutrients, improves adrenal function, suggests that Celtic sea salt supports adrenal health by replenishing essential minerals lost during periods of stress, better for skin health. Similar to the Himalayan salt, it's used in baths to help to detoxify the skin and soothe irritation while improving hydration. So there you go. That's why I have Himalayan salt with my pasture-raised eggs. In fact, why don't we just use ChatGPT again here? Let's just go pasture-raised eggs benefits versus, let's say, free-range eggs. Let's see what comes up here. Okay, pasture-raised and free-range eggs both come from chickens that have more freedom to roam compared to conventional caged hens, but there are some key differences in how the chickens are raised and the potential benefits of the eggs they produce. Here's a comparison of the two. Pasture-raised eggs typically have the most access to the outdoors with significant space to roam freely on open pasture. This means they can forage for natural food sources such as insects, seeds, and grass, in addition to their supplemental feed. The benefits of pasture-raised eggs are higher nutritional value, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamins A, D, and E, antioxidants, better flavor, healthier hens. The chickens come, because pasture-raised chickens forage naturally and have a more diverse diet, they're often healthier, which can translate into better quality eggs. And then pasture-raised hens usually live in conditions closer to their natural environment with more space to roam and exhibit natural behaviors, making it a more humane option. Number 5, it says the environmental impact. Pasture raising hens is generally more sustainable because it involves rotating the hens on different parts of the pasture, promoting healthy soil and reducing the need for pesticides. There you go. Free-range eggs. By comparison, chickens labelled as free-range have some access to the outdoors, but the amount of space and the time spent outside can vary significantly. Regulations for free-range eggs are typically less strict. In some cases, free-range can simply mean the hens have access to an open door or outdoor area without requiring substantial time spent outside. That's what I meant. Like this ridiculous advertising, like cage-free eggs or open or free-range eggs, open cage eggs. It just means that the cage door is open, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually out there eating bugs and insects and worms. So let's have a look here. The benefits, the key differences between the pasture-raised and free-range eggs is the pasture-raised hens have substantial outdoor space, whereas hens may have outdoor space. The pasture-raised hens eat a more varied diet of grass, insects and plants, which boosts the nutrient profile of their eggs, whereas the free-range hens may still eat some natural food outdoors, but are more reliant on feed. And that's the key issue there, the feed. The farmers are feeding them what they want to feed them, as opposed to what they're supposed to be eating, which is insects, grass, plants. The nutritional content of pasture-raised eggs have higher levels of omega-3s, vitamins, and antioxidants. The free-range eggs may not be as nutrient-dense as pasture-raised eggs. In terms of animal welfare, the pasture-raised offers a more natural and humane environment. Free-range is still more humane than caged systems, but the quality of life depends on how much time the hens actually spend outdoors. Then the price. The pasture-raised eggs certainly are more expensive due to the cost of giving hens more space and better care. The free-range eggs are often less expensive, but more costly than conventional eggs. So there you go. So I just compared pasture-raised to the next best, which would be free-range, and there were still marked differences there in the nutritional quality. Don't even get me started on the one down from, let's call it conventional eggs. Ugh, horrendous. I mean, let me take that back. Not horrendous, but horrendous compared to the pasture-raised eggs. So any eggs is still going to be better than no eggs, but the quality of a pasture-raised egg is so much higher. So there you go. What have we covered? We've covered walking, 10,000 steps. We're talking about making sure that you walk immediately after your last meal to halve your blood sugar levels, and to aid digestion and to aid weight loss, or at least controlling your weight, not putting on weight. We've talked about my fridge with kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir for great sources of probiotics. Really, really good for gut health, digestive system. We talked about salts, Himalayan salts, and the Celtic sea salt with all the trace minerals, and we talked about the pasture-raised eggs being far superior than anything else. We can talk about the difference between grass-fed steak and corn-fed steak. So in America, most steaks that you would buy, 90% of all steaks, red meat that's sold, are from grain-fed cows. But have a think about this for a second. Grain is corn, essentially, right? Soy products. Have you think about the makeup of a cow? Have you ever seen a cow walk up to a cornfield and start stripping away the outer layer and just picking off little bits of corn? No, because cows can't do that naturally. But have you ever seen a cow walk along the ground and eat grass? Yes, because that's what a cow's naturally supposed to do. But yet, we decide that we're going to change that, and we're going to now feed the cows grains. And what happens to the cows when we do that? I'll tell you what happens to the cows. They get fat and sick. Now, getting fat is great for business, because now you've got a fatter cow, and the cow gets fatter in a shorter amount of time than a grass-fed cow. But you're also now pumping these cows with antibiotics. Their internal organs are exploding because they're eating too much. They're kind of just like fat, sick cows. Then we slaughter those cows, and we get a lot more chunks of meat out of them. So it's great for the farmers. It's more cost effective. And then it ends up on an American's plate, and we buy that steak, and then we eat it. Now, back to the pasture-raised eggs again. An egg is better than not eating an egg because it's a good source of protein. There are nutritional qualities to it, right? But a grain-fed cow and a grain-fed piece of steak is far inferior to a grass-fed steak. I can put this into ChatGPT here. Grass-fed versus grain-fed steak. Tell me the difference. Tell me the nutritional difference. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. And by the way, I've been eating grass-fed steak pretty solid 3 or 4 times a week for about a year. My testosterone levels are now over 1,000. My free testosterone's in 11. Men who pay attention to their testosterone will know that is peak performance testosterone level. Like, that's very, very high in a good way. In fact, if you're anything over 600, it's good. But I'm like 1,000, closer to 1,100. And I'm convinced that is a combination of eating grass-fed red meat. Vegans will probably be horrified by this, and I'm not here going to have a debate over meat eating versus veganism. I'm just going to say what has worked for me and what I've been experimenting with these past couple of years, which is my diet essentially consists of pasture-raised eggs, Himalayan salt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, red meat, vegetables, chicken, and wild-caught salmon as opposed to farm-raised salmon, or wild-caught fish as opposed to farm-raised fish. And desserts, because I have had a sweet tooth, is now a 450-gram tub of 0 or low percentage fat Greek yogurt with some blueberries, because that's very low calories, huge portion of dessert, very low calories, filled with protein. And then coffee. I do have 2 cups of coffee now each morning, and I've gone through phases where I haven't drunk coffee at all, but now I'm in a drinking coffee phase, and I have 2 cups of coffee, but I don't put cream and sugar and all that kind of nonsense in there. Most of my coffees are just straight black coffee, Americano, no sugar, no cream, no nothing. And then often, but not always, I'll have a latte, so I'll have milk in the coffee and make it a latte, and full cream milk. I don't cut corners there. Like, I don't go for skim or any of that kind of stuff. I just like, just give me full cream milk, it's fine. And I do drink additional calories that way, but that's fine because I'm working out and I'm building muscle, and because I'm not eating all of the other crap throughout the day, like pastas and sauces and rice and pizzas. And I mean, I will have a pizza on occasion, but like on occasion, a couple times a month, I like a good pizza on a cheat day, let's say. But most of the time I'm just sticking to eggs, red meat, chicken, wild-caught fish, sweet potatoes or potatoes, and vegetables, and some salads. And not salads with like nasty oils and things like that, but olive oil. And when I'm cooking the eggs, I'm cooking it in ghee or grass-fed butter. I'm not cooking it in those nasty sunflower oils, which is so bad for us, but somehow most Americans think are great for us. Anyway, I was going back to the grass-fed beef. Grass-fed cattle are raised on pasture and primarily eat grass or other forage. This diet impacts the nutrient profile of the meat. So the nutritional benefits of grass-fed beef. Now, they're higher in omega-3 fatty acids. Grass-fed beef contains up to 5 times more omega-3 fatty acids than grain-fed beef. Omega-3s are beneficial for heart health, reducing inflammation and supporting brain function. There's a better omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in fatty acids. It's higher in CLA, which stands for conjugated linoleic acid, which is a type of fat that may help reduce body fat and improve overall health, with potential cancer fighting and heart health benefits. Grass-fed beef is richer in vitamin E, which helps protect cells from oxidative stress and supports skin and immune health. Grass-fed beef tends to be leaner overall with less total fat than grain-fed beef, so you're eating less calories. Higher in micronutrients, including vitamin A, vitamin E, and beta-carotene, which supports vision, immunity, and skin health. Grain-fed cattle are typically raised on pasture initially, but are then fed a diet of grains, corn, and soy during the final months of their lives to fatten them quickly. This changes the fat content and nutritional makeup of the meat. So here we go. Grain-fed, higher in total fat, including saturated fat. This leads to a richer flavor and more marbling in the meat, which many people prefer for tenderness and taste. So people here are going, oh yeah, I want this because it's a tastier piece of steak. But grain-fed beef has significantly lower levels of omega-3 fatty acids compared to grass-fed beef. This is because grains contain fewer omega-3s than grass. Grain-fed beef has more omega-6 fatty acids due to the grain-based diet, while omega-6s are essential, and excess in the diet can contribute to inflammation if not balanced with omega-3s. Grain-fed beef has less CLA, that's the conjugated linoleic acid, reducing some of the potential health benefits associated. Has higher calories because of the higher fat. It's more calorie dense. It's lower in micronutrients, including vitamin A, vitamin E, and beta-carotene compared to grass-fed beef. And then here in ChatGPT, it's actually given a graph here which looks at the difference in quality between the two, which is very interesting. So in summary, grass-fed beef is considered to be the healthier option due to its higher omega-3 and CLA content, better fat profile, and higher levels of antioxidants. These factors contribute to anti-inflammatory and heart-healthy benefits. So there you go. Yeah, so there you go. So that's how I do it. That's how I choose to eat. I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. I'm saying this is what I do, and it seems to work for me. Like, the benefits for me are very noteworthy and noticeable. Like I said, this isn't a vegan versus meat eating thing. I'm choosing to eat meat, and there's a lot of studies that suggest that if you know your blood type, that can really affect whether you should be or not should be, whether eating meat will be better for you or worse for you. I'm a blood type of O positive, and all my research suggests that people with O positive blood types should eat more meat. In fact, let's do this. Which blood types should eat meat and which should be vegans? Let's just see what ChatGPT has to say here, shall we? Which blood type should eat? So the idea that different blood types should follow specific diets, including recommendations on meat consumption and veganism, comes from a book called Blood Type Diet, a concept popularized by Dr. Peter J. D'Adamo in his book Eat Right for Your Type. This theory suggests that your blood type can influence how well you digest and metabolize certain foods, including whether you should eat meat or adopt a more plant-based or vegan diet. However, it's important to note that this theory is not widely supported by scientific research. Okay, so here's some anecdotal evidence from me then. So if you're an O blood type, that's essentially, they're calling this the hunter, and that is, the recommended diet is high protein diet similar to a paleo diet, which is what I eat. So should eat meat, especially lean red meat, which is what I eat, poultry, fish, and vegetables, which is what I shared, that what I eat. Should avoid grains, legumes, and dairy. So that's what I do. I avoid grains, I avoid legumes, I avoid dairy. In fact, I remember I had a former romantic partner and we lived together, and she was a vegan, and that pretty much made me a vegan. And I had about 4 gout attacks in a year. And I only realized later on that my hypothesis as to why I got the gout attacks was that I was eating a lot of legumes, grains, and that was causing a high buildup of uric acid in my system, which led to a gout attack. So according to the blood type diet, type O individuals are better suited for a meat-heavy diet. It's suggested that their digestive systems are well adapted to metabolize animal proteins because their ancestors were hunter-gatherers. Then we've got blood type A, which is the cultivator. Recommended diet, plant-based or vegetarian diet. Should eat vegetables, fruits, legumes, grains, and tofu. So all this, most of the stuff that I shouldn't be eating, at least according to this, someone with a blood type A should be eating, at least according to this. And they should avoid red meat and dairy. People with blood type A are advised to follow a vegan or vegetarian diet. It's believed their ancestors were early agriculturalists and thus their bodies are better suited to digest plant foods rather than meat. Then there's blood type B, which is the nomad, which is a balanced diet that includes a variety of foods, which is meat, dairy, vegetables and grains. Should avoid chicken, corn, wheat and lentils. Then there's blood type AB, which is called the Enigma, which is a mixed diet. Again, meat in moderation, seafood, dairy, tofu, grains, fruits and vegetables, and so forth. So there you go. Type O blood type, meat heavy. Type A, plant-based, vegan or vegetarian. Type B, balanced, including moderate meat and dairy. And then type AB, mixed diet, moderate meat intake. So as always, do your own research, but there's a few little things that might inspire you to do a little bit more research and maybe focus more on your dietary habits. So anyway, I am going to wrap this up now. I'm going to continue with my steps here. I'm going to turn around again and go down this street and keep walking until I get closer into the 9,000s, and then I'll go into my family home and be conscious of making sure I get the 10,000 from walking around the house. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this is helpful. Again, this is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing what I do and what others say. I hope this has been helpful, and I will catch you on the next one.